Welcome and thank you for joining me. Today I will be changing the transmission fluid first time on my Volvo V50 T5 all-wheel drive. This will be the first change since the car was new from 2006 at 91,000 kilometers. I got 14 liters of Aisin transmission fluid. Here is the current mileage for reference, and this one is equipped with AW50/51 Aisin Japan-made transmission. This will be a proper video on YouTube how to do it yourself, the proper way. So I got this from Rock Auto, 14 liters, made in USA, and this will be a good oil for this transmission for this Volvo, which are installed on pretty much all the P1 models. So first of all, raise the front, remove the splash guard. In my case, it's held by Torx 30 and two 8mm bolts.
30 and 8
So that's removed. And before we continue, a short message from my sponsor, D5T5.com. Anything that's related to your Volvo, the guys do it. I wanted to share with you that you can optimize your engine on your Volvo using their service. So just open their website, D5T5.com, take your VIN number of your Volvo and type it in the search bar up top. Hit search, your Volvo will appear on the screen. In this case, it's my 09 XC70. You can see my VIN, my engine, my transmission type. And down at the bottom, you will see performance optimization options. You've got original, stage 1, stage 2, the torque values that you will get after the optimization, and the prices. The price will vary depending on your Volvo and engine type. And to complete this optimization, you'll need the hardware, which is this Super J 2534 cable. You can purchase it directly from their website. It's 100% compatible with VIDA and VDASH. It's actually faster in performance and it's more reliable than the Chinese dies. So get that, follow my instructional video, and you can optimize your Volvo at home using my instructional video. Thank you. Now let me explain the transmission. So hose number 3, the transmission hot oil comes out from the bottom and it goes up into the cooler, and then from the cooler, hose number 2 brings the cooled oil back into the transmission. And obviously there are 4 connections for the cooler. As we can see here, the right side is for the coolant, the left side is for the transmission fluid. So at the bottom, the hot oil comes in, and up top, it comes out cooled down. So that's where we're gonna connect a hose where the blue arrow is, and that's where the transmission fluid will be pumped out into the bucket and gets discarded. And we're gonna fill the new oil through the dipstick. Way easier than what VIDA, the instructions, recommend. And you will see that it's not that complicated, just follow me. Let's continue. So once the splash guard is removed, let's take a peek underneath. So we have the oil sump pump for the engine, the drain plug. Let me go here. This is the oil sump pump. This is the drain plug for your engine oil. And this is the transmission, and this is the drain plug for the transmission. And they use the same, exactly the same gasket, the aluminum one. Now, this is the bottom hose number 3, where the hot oil comes out from the transmission into this hose right here, and it goes up into the oil cooler up there. See? Exactly as on the illustration. So we're gonna disconnect the top part where the cooled oil comes out. The right hose is your coolant one. We don't need that. Now let's go and take a peek from up top. So hose number 2 is right here. This is a plastic hose with a quick connect right here. So we need to disconnect it. And let me tell you, not easy. I almost broke my fingers pushing on those tabs and I barely disconnected it. So be patient, don't break it, because this hose is expensive if you break it. And it connects to the transmission over there, and that's where Vaida recommends filling the oil. I got this measuring cup from Amazon, really helpful, and I recommend you get one to do this job. So let's begin. 24mm wrench. We're gonna undo the drain plug and we're gonna let it drain completely. The car, by the way, is cold, so the oil is not hot, exactly as the new oil. They've been sitting beside each other, so this way they're both pretty much at the same temperature and they're gonna be at the same capacity, because this oil will expand as it heats up. So while it's draining, we're gonna continue. The drain plug has a magnet which will accumulate all these metal shavings, so make sure you don't miss that, and you gotta clean it before installing the plug back into the transmission. And the washer, the aluminum crushable washer, again is the same one. If you're doing your own oil changes, just put that new washer. To get a little bit more room, we gotta remove this computer cover. This is your ECM. If I'm wrong, let me know. I think that's the ECM for the engine computer. And now this rubber hose is in the way, put it aside. And now you pretty much have room for barely 2 hands to go in and push on the blue tabs and carefully pull out the hose from the cooler. And after some struggle and sore hands and fingers, I was able to get it off. Just be patient, don't break it, and it's off. As you can see, it has the blue tabs. We don't need to disconnect the bottom because we're gonna feel from the dipstick, not from here as Vaida Volvo instructions recommend. From the bottom, you're gonna pull out the dipstick, and this is where we're gonna put a hose, a plastic clear hose, and we're gonna fill the transmission. So we're preparing right now everything to do the flush. The dipstick is gonna be out, and also very important to keep everything clean because you don't want any debris getting into the transmission. If for any reason you feel like you need a new O-ring, here is the part number for that O-ring. As you can see, there are cold and hot marks, and I'll explain later how to properly set the level at the end of the video. Exactly 4 liters has drained, so it's very important to keep track of how much you drain and how much you fill, because you don't want to overfill the transmission fluid. Everything has drained. Now we can install the new washer. As you can see, the old one is crushed, that's why it looks thicker, and that's the part number for the washer, again for both transmission drain and engine oil drain plugs. And Vaida will call 14 Newton meters, but there is no room for a torque wrench, so just nice and snug. You will feel the washer will get crushed, so be careful not to over tighten it too much. This is a 3/8 inch hose, pretty stiff, it's pretty old, but I'm gonna use it. So use a heat gun to warm it up and then just carefully slide it onto the cooler. As you can see here, make sure it's long enough. What I did on the funnel, the same hose, I just cut it, and it took some time to slide it over the funnel. So now I'm gonna flush the funnel in the hose because I've used it for coolant drainage, and at the same time we're gonna put aside some fresh new oil for comparison later. And then, so as you can see, I'm gonna clean any debris from the funnel and the hose itself. And I had to be creative here because I don't have a helper today, so I'm doing it all by myself. As you can see, the fluid is nice and clear. And we're gonna set aside some of the original 18-year-old oil, which has 91,000 kilometers. So the funnel goes into the transmission dipstick. It goes in nicely. Let me tell you, it's not gonna leak. I've telling you already ahead of time, just be slow. So now remember, we drained 4 liters and we're gonna put in 4 liters. And make sure to compensate because each bottle is not 1 liter, it's 946. So we're missing like 216 milliliters. And again, remember, we don't want to overfill the transmission because you'd rather add later than you have to somehow suck out or drain the excess, which you don't want to do. So I'm gonna just pour 4 bottles, and then I have a separate measuring cup to measure properly. We're gonna add 200, so that will be total of 4 liters. So 4 bottles plus the 200 over here. Make sure that everything is clean and you don't have any debris. Very important. So that's complete. Now we're gonna flush the system. So we are going to start the engine. As you can see, my setup here with a Love's bucket to help me out. That's gonna be my body today. You wanna start the engine and the oil is gonna get pumped out from the cooler. As you can see, it's super dark, but it doesn't smell bad at all. It's not burnt. And you're gonna drain until you see bubbles. That's what the manual calls for. Once you see bubbles, stop the engine. So let's see how much it's gonna pump out. And just watch carefully on the right side, you're gonna see bubbles now. See? Stop the engine. Let's measure. So we have 2. So 2.2 out. You wanna discard this oil away. You gotta have some containers to do that. You can use the same bottles, what I'm doing here. And now we're gonna put in 2.2 of new oil. And that process you're gonna repeat until you run out of oil. And let me tell you, I should have got 4 more liters just to make it, super clean. You'll see later. I got 14 liters, I should have got 18 liters. But it will be still sufficient. Second drain. Again, to make it a little bit easier, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna stop the engine at 2 liters this time. And this was where you can monitor the color. As you're draining it, you're gonna see the color will gradually change to a more cleaner one as we continue the process. This is the third time. Still very dark. So third time flush, 2.7. And it's definitely getting cleaner. So that's good. So we're gonna put in 2.7. So here is what's left. I have 2 full bottles and 300 milliliters on the left. That's all I have. So I gotta be careful now not to drain too much, because I don't have any more oil. That's gonna be total of pretty much 14. So we're gonna drain 1.9 and put the last 2 liters back in, and I feel like this time it's gonna be nice and clean fluid coming out. Let's check. Yeah, as you can see, the color has definitely improved after pretty much flushing 13 liters. And I mean, that's pretty much good enough. If you want to go beyond that, go ahead. Again, I should have ordered a little bit more oil, but as you can see, look at the hose. It definitely looks nice and red this time. So that's good. And I'm gonna put aside from the hose a little bit into the bottle for comparison, because we're gonna do a comparison a little bit later now to check on the status of this fluid change. So here goes the last 2 bottles in, and now we can wrap it up, put everything back together. We need to go for a drive and warm up the transmission. And I have decided not to throw away this last flush, just in case I need to add oil. I want to make sure I have. So here it is. Here is the result. The middle is the original. The bottom one is what's right now in the transmission. The top one is brand new. And from experience, because I've done this a couple times on different Volvos and other cars, a piece of paper towel will give a little bit more visual result. Just take a look at the color. It's good. I mean, those 14 liters, look at that. Looks pretty good. Obviously the new fluid will clean the transmission inside and it will get darker as you drive, but here you go. Transmission fluid change complete, and I think this will be, in my opinion, one of the best videos out there for this Volvo on the P1s, how to properly do it. Comment below if you think so. So time to disconnect the drain hose from the cooler. I'm gonna put a rag so I don't make a mess. And I'm gonna quickly pull on it and kink the hose. Happy I put the rag below. Reconnect the line, and we're gonna check later for any leaks. We're gonna clean really well the dipstick, and I'm gonna put it in. It's pretty hard to film here, so just slide it in, the cover back. And now I'm not gonna put the splash guard underneath. I'm gonna clean everything up. I'm gonna go for a drive, like 25-30 minute drive. I'm gonna actually go Canadian Tire and drop off the used oil. So I'm back and I've connected DICE, and I have VIDA here. So I'm gonna load the vehicle, I'm gonna read the vehicle, and I'm gonna go into the TCM, transmission control module because we need to reset the transmission oil counter, which registers how many times the transmission was overheated, and if it did, it will throw a message, change the oil. So every time when you change the transmission oil, you need to reset it, so it doesn't give you one day a false information, because it doesn't know you changed the transmission oil. If you don't have VIDA, then don't do it. It's not a big deal, but here you go, resetting the counter transmission oil, start, and operation finished. So that's done. Now, to check the transmission fluid, Volvo recommends to check when the transmission is hot, fully warmed up. So we're gonna pull the transmission oil temperature on the display here, and it should be above 80 degrees. And take a look, it's at 84. Perfect. Which means on the dipstick we're gonna look for the oil to be on the hot level, because there is a cold level and there is a hot level. And again, the instructions say that the best would be to check when the transmission is fully warmed up, because the fluid expands to its maximum capacity. So all four wheels are gonna go on ramps, because you wanna make sure it's level. As you can see it on the background, the ramps are there. So don't comment that the vehicle is not level. So the engine is running, cycle through every gear and pause for 3 seconds on each gear. And then once you cycle through the gears, put it back into park, wait at least 2 minutes before checking the dipstick. That's how you check the fluid level, and that will be the proper way to check it. And you gotta bring the car on ramps, because it's super hard to reach the dipstick. I can't reach it from up top here, there is no room for your hands. And you wanna be very careful because the engine is running. By the way, I'm checking leaks here and it's all good. Sorry. Be careful because the fans are spinning and it's very close to where the dipstick is. And take a look, the oil is below the maximum hot level, which means I need to add, which is good. I didn't overfill it. I'd rather add now easily than find a way to drain it. So I'm gonna use the same funnel and I'm gonna add 300 milliliters. And take a look, I've added 300 and it's now at the top mark on the hot level. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe. You can do a one-time donation by clicking on the super thanks. That will definitely help the channel on all the time I spend and all the parts that are involved in cost. And comment below. I hope that this is gonna be the best video on how to do it. Bye bye guys.